Let's explore how to meditate without controlling your breath. Whoops, wrong button. There we go. This evening's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit, which begins, how to focus on the breath without taking control of it. The question proceeds. Meditation is the hardest breath meditation is the hardest meditation for me. Whenever I try to just notice the breath, I take full control of it. And of course, my inner geek could not resist. Release the cracker. Never. I have meditated irregularly for years now, but this is an obstacle I cannot overcome until tonight. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Let us begin with broad brushstrokes. For those of us who have attended my live streams before, this is a lot of review. And if you find this intellectually insulting, I apologize. My first allegiance are the people who are experiencing the greatest frustration. So everyone who has no frustration, you can fast forward until it's time for the group practice. Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything sucks, including meditation teachers. You're going to find the majority of meditation teachers feel that being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel is Jim Dandy, especially being rigid and controlling. However, if you're fortunate, you can find a minority of meditation teachers who are the opposite, who feel that being flexible, loving, rational, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind is where it's at. Now, that's all well and good, but even though most of us intellectually can agree that it's better to be laid back than controlling, it's tough to know how to make that switch. There are discrete mechanisms in our central nervous system that specialize in making us rigid and controlling, and other ones that specialize in making us flexible and laid back. When we know what those mechanisms are and how to access them, then the mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path becomes child's play. I'd like to start with this side view of the human brain that's been drawn very simplistically, mercifully simplistically, because if it's super complex, it's overwhelming. Most of us are taught to concentrate. The only way to do that is to use discrete mechanisms such as the medial prefrontal cortex or the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Doing that, concentrating and analyzing, will exhaust our prefrontal cortex. When that happens, well, I'm being dramatic. It will tire our prefrontal cortex. The more tired it becomes, the more fatigued it becomes, the more our amygdala will activate. Our amygdala is directly the seat of anxiety and aggression, and indirectly strengthens our tendencies or indulges our tendencies to be rigid and controlling. Let's find an antidote for that. According to the Buddha, the seventh enlightenment factor was mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we access our sympathetic nervous system, which is found in the middle third of our spinal cord, which is pretty far away from the front of our head. Wouldn't you agree? This bad boy has evolved to help us to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. We have evolved to notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We have evolved to also notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Sometimes this can feel overwhelming. Now I've got an extra layer of good news for you. According to the Buddha, the eighth fold of the Buddha's eightfold path was meditation. And every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we inadvertently access our parasympathetic nervous system, ensconced within both the lower third of our spinal cord as well as the upper third of our spinal cord. This bad boy has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Thus, our sympathetic and our oopsie, sorry, Mr. Microphone. Let's try this again. So, where the team of our prefrontal cortex and our amygdala feed our rigidity and controlling tendencies, similarly, the team of our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems support our flexibility and us being laid back. Through the magic tool of playing with monosyllabic words, we can align our brain with both our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system. Our understanding, our contemporary understanding of breathing meditation is based upon, this is a long word in a foreign language, the Anapanasati Sutta. A careful study of it does not reveal a single passage that says, concentrate single-pointedly upon your breath. Now, this is wild. Instead of treating our breath as something to focus on, it is inferred in the text that we should treat our breath as an organizing factor. Now, way back in the Iron Age, they did not have mechanical metronomes like we see on the page before us. But we are exactly to use our breath as a metronome. And so instead of treating it as something static to be focused on, like Sherlock Holmes with a magnifying glass, we use it the way a musician would use something to keep the beat. According to the text, are things that we are to silently and mentally recite during our inhalation, and things that we're to silently and mentally recite during our exhalation. That adds an extra layer that we're treating the breath like it's dynamic, and it's just a tool for the ideas represented by the words, for all language really is symbolic, is it not? Now, this is all really, this is a really a good word here. Not conceptual. Oh, well, this is just theoretical right now. I'm really looking forward to getting to the nitty-gritty with you. And so I'm going to practice with you. Together we're going to play with the 4 contemplations and the 12 exercises of the Anapanasati Sutta. We're going to do it after well, let me just jump over here real quick for editing purposes. There we go. So we will do that after approximately 45 seconds of setting a loving intention, which will come after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So let's play with the latest iteration of secular contemplation, mindfulness, and meditation. It is based upon my adaptation of the Metta and Anapanasati suttas. So let's begin by setting intention. So we're not going to pray to a real or imagined entity, but we are going to use words to guide our intention. Oh, won't you please chant with me? May all circumstances of all beings appearing yet impermanent be as safe and abundant as a real or imagined Buddha's land. May all minds of all beings clear yet impermanent be as joyfully enlightened as a real or imagined Buddha's mind. May all relationships of all beings resounding yet impermanent be as peacefully loving as a real or imagined Buddha's speech. May all bodies of all beings sensual yet impermanent be as beautifully healthy as a real or imagined Buddha's form. So we're going to begin with Dhammasati's set of 4 impermanence contemplations to help us circumstantially let go. One moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we begin with the first of 4 passive contemplations, where we invigoratingly consider course impermanence. How do we do that? Simple. As we breathe in, we silently, mentally, and passively recite the preposition what. As we exhale, we silently, mentally, and passively recite the verb change. Now, I'd like very much to do this for 32 breaths, but I simply cannot. So to do that, I'm going to share with you a technique that was inspired by a Bengali gentleman, so I call it Bengali crease counting. I like to begin on my left hand, and during each inhalation, I advance the tip of my left thumb. After 16 rounds, and a round is just one inhalation followed by one exhalation, I shall switch to my right hand. Now, although I'm going to have my hands in front of the camera, it's most ergonomically sound if you rest your hands in your lap. Let's dig in. Now we switch to my right hand. If at any point you have any questions, simply type them in the chat window. My only request is that your questions be detailed and specific. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Copy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We continue with the second of 4 passive contemplations where we consider subtle impermanence. We persist with the same preposition, but we switch to a more subtle verb, fade. Now, it's not our job to will something to fade or to hunt for something to fade. This question is purely rhetorical. So it's not our job to choose the rate or depth of breathing. When we notice ourselves breathing in, we silently, mentally, and passively recite 1. When we notice our body breathing out, we silently, mentally, and passively recite the verb fade. The more you do this, the easier it gets, just like cracking your knuckles. One moment. Let's see. Let's jump ahead 6 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And copy. And jump back 5 pages. Now we come to the third of 4 passive contemplations, where we consider very subtle impermanence. We persist with the preposition what, and now we use the verb cease. Change is an inevitability, and yet we have been wired by evolution to fear it. This set of 4 exercises helps to massage the tension of resistance to change, to massage that resistance away. Let us conclude with the fourth of four passive contemplations, where we consider relinquishing, surrendering, and letting go with the easy phrase, this ease. Ease, of course, is a one-syllable verb, which is synonymous with relaxing. If you are prone to striving to control the speed or depth of breath, playing with the verb ease in harmony with our exhalation could serve as an excellent antidote to our controlling tendencies, or I should say to the tyranny of our controlling tendencies. We continue now with Kaya Sati's only set of 4 preliminary meditations that center our bodies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoops, let's hit 5. We begin with the first of Centering's 4 physical preliminary practices, where we mindfully notice and even investigate our relaxing, longer, gentle respirations. This ability to notice is due entirely to our sympathetic nervous system. It's accessed during our inhalation. So it's not our job to actively control the length of the breath. During the inhalation, we silently and mentally recite the verb watch. During the exhalation, we silently and mentally recite the adjective long. Then we just stand back and watch what happens. by the way, mindfulness is followed by the highlighted subscription 1, which reminds us that mindfulness is the first of 7 enlightenment factors. I'm having trouble with this. Oh boy. Whew-wee. Okay. Okay, this is page 13. Let me go back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Whoops. That is odd. So much oddness. Okay, paste. All right. Now we come to the second of Zettering's 4 physical preliminary practices where we mindfully notice and even investigate the coalescence of our shorter, invigorating respirations. Invigoration or energy is the third enlightenment factor. During the inhalation, we silently and mentally recite the verb here. During the exhalation, we silently and mentally recite the adjective short. Now we come to the third of Centering's 4 physical preliminary practices where we allow our minds to mindfully notice and even investigate our bodies. Investigation is the second of 7 enlightenment factors. During the inhalation, we silently, mentally, and passively recite the verb here. During the exhalation, we silently, mentally, and passively recite the noun form, which is a synonym for our body. Now we come to the fourth centerings for physical preliminary practices where we allow our bodies to tranquilly relax. Tranquility is the fifth of 7 enlightenment factors. During our inhalation, we silently and mentally recite the noun form. During our exhalation, we silently and mentally recite the verb ease. We continue with Vedana Sati's set for jhana meditations that center our feelings. We begin with the first of 4 feeling-oriented centering practices where we savor the first jhana's invigorating blissful joy, which is, of course, a reference to the 4th enlightenment factor, joy. This invigorating blissful joy flows from gently grinning towards our bodies of flesh, blood, and bone. As we breathe in, we silently and mentally recite the verb grin. As we exhale, we silently and mentally recite the noun form, which is a synonym for body. We continue with the second of 4 feeling-oriented centering practices, where we savor the second jhana's peaceful joy that flows from gently grinning with the corners of our mouth, the apples of our cheeks, and the crow's feet of our eyes towards our thoughts, emoting, intending, reasoning, recalling, and imagining. Clearly, we're using the word thought here as an umbrella term. We continue with the third of 4 feeling-oriented centering practices, where we savor the third jhana's contentment by mindfully noticing, investigating, and coalescing our thoughts, emoting, intending, reasoning, recalling, and imagining. Coalescence is the 6th of the 7 enlightenment factors. And just as our breath coalesces in our lungs as we breathe in, our awareness of our thoughts also gathers. During our inhalation, we can silently and mentally recite the, that's weird. During our inhalation, we can silently and mentally and passively recite the verb watch. During the exhalation, we can silently, mentally, and passively recite the noun thoughts. We continue with the fourth of four feeling-oriented centering practices, where we savor the fourth jhana's neutrality by allowing our thoughts, emoting, intending, reasoning, recalling, and imagining to tranquilly relax. During our inhalation, we can silently, mentally, and passively recite the noun thoughts. During the exhalation, silently, mentally, and passively, we can recite the one-syllable verb, is. We continue, or I should say conclude, with Chitta Sati's second set of 4 jhana meditations that this time center the mind. We begin with the first of 4 mind-oriented centering practices, where we savor the 5th jhana's metaphoric sphere of infinite spaciousness. By mindfully noticing, investigating, and coalescing our mind's ability, I must do a quick edit. All right. Our mind's ability to smell, taste, fear, hear, see, and the like. We continue with the second of 4 mind-oriented centering practices, where we savor the 6th jhana's metaphoric sphere of infinite awareness, which we generate by allowing our mind to invigoratingly gladden us. Towards it we gently smile. From the corners of our mouth, the apples of our cheeks, and the crow's feet of our eye. We come to the third of 4 mind-oriented centering practices, where we savor the seventh jhana's metaphoric sphere of non-graspability, as we allow our minds smelling, tasting, feeling, hearing, seeing, and the like, to tranquilly relax into in the most sustainable way. Please be stand by while I make the final edit of this evening's practice. We come to the fourth of 4 mind-oriented centering practices, where we savor the 8th jhana's metaphoric sphere of acquiescent non-labeling, by experiencing the liberating equanimity, which is of course the 7th enlightenment factor, the liberating equanimity of our controlling tendencies to push and pull and remedy and cultivate. As we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite the noun, mind. As we exhale, let us silently and mentally and passively recite the 1-syllable verb, free. Let us seal this practice by chanting love and releases. Wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all circumstances of all beings appearing yet impermanent be as safe and abundant as a real or imagined Buddha's land. May all minds of all beings clear yet impermanent be as joyfully enlightened as a real or imagined Buddha's mind. May all relationships of all beings resounding yet impermanent be as peacefully loving as a real or imagined Buddha's speech. May all bodies of all beings sensual yet impermanent be as beautifully healthy as a real or imagined Buddha's form. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 and 2/3, 3/4 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation group practice. Hopefully, I think there's an error there. Anyway, and yes, if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.